If you have Ring cameras and you think that you might have captured an image of Elliott, please call them. We'll take any prayers, any other volunteers that want to come back tomorrow and help us pass out flyers. We'd be grateful. Thank you.
When 22-year-old Eliotte Heinz disappeared following a night out, her family pleaded for help, and they were clinging on to hope. But just 3 days later, their worst fears came true. We're breaking down what happened and what we know so far about Elliott's tragic disappearance. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Elizabeth Millner, in for Jesse Weber. Before I get into the story, I want to make a quick announcement. Law&Crime needs your help. We want to create something new for our viewers, something that you'll love and you'll enjoy. We want to make sure that what we create is based on your opinion and your voice. So we've created a short survey to get your feedback, and we'll be selecting 10 people at random who took the survey to get a free Law&Crime t-shirt. If you want your voice to be heard, please check out the survey and let us know your thoughts. The link is in the description and pinned comment. Look, it's summertime. A lot of people are out trying to enjoy the beautiful weather, and what began as an ordinary summer night out in downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin, turned into a nightmare for 22-year-old grad student Eliotte Heinz. Now, after leaving a bar in the early morning hours of July 20th, she never returned home. Elliott's disappearance sparked a desperate 3-day search, one that ended in a heartbreaking tragedy. Now let's walk through what we know so far. On July 20th, around 2:30 a.m., La Crosse police say Eliotte Heinz left Bronco's Bar, a popular downtown hangout, after a night out with friends. Now, she was believed to be heading back to her apartment. Surveillance footage later captured her approximately at 3:22 a.m., walking southbound along the 500 block of Front Street South, just blocks away from the Mississippi River. And after a night out, what do most of your loved ones say? Text me when you get home. Call me when you get home. So when her loved one's repeated calls to her phone went unanswered later that morning, Elliott's family grew concerned. Now, her mother, Amber Heinz, spoke with Fox News Digital, and she said, quote, "Sunday morning, we tried to reach her, and we were unable to get a hold of her. We talk all the time. We talked to her that week. We were texting back and forth, but on Sunday morning, we couldn't get a hold of her. We knew that something was going on." From that point on, the family's focus was singular: bringing Eliotte home. As Amber Heinz went on to tell Fox Digital, "We were just really letting the police department focus on their job here right now and just trying to get her picture out there. That's what we were here for. We're here for Eliotte and keeping our focus on her and getting her home." Despite the fear and uncertainty, Amber held on to hope, telling the outlet, "We're all just trying to stay positive and get her home. That's our focus. We are praying for the best possible outcome, which is Eliotte to come back to us and continue on her journey as she grows and becomes the amazing person that she is." Now, speaking to the La Crosse Tribune, Eliotte Heinz's family made a heartfelt plea to the public, urging anyone with information to come forward.
If you have Ring cameras and you think that you might have captured an image of Elliott, please call them. Let them take a look at your footage. Even if you don't think it's a big deal, it might be something that's a really big deal for her. We'll take any prayers, any other volunteers that want to come back tomorrow and help us pass out flyers. We'd be grateful. Thank you.
The La Crosse Police Department issued an urgent message for the community too. This is what they had to say. The La Crosse Police Department is asking for the community's assistance in locating a missing person. Eliotte Heinz was last seen walking southbound on the 500 block of Front Street South at approximately 3:22 a.m. on July 20th, 2025. Her family, friends, and police have made several attempts to locate her with no success. Eliotte is 22 years of age, 5'4", 120 pounds, with blonde hair and blue eyes. Eliotte was last seen wearing a white t-shirt and jean shorts. A tip line was also set up. Meanwhile, Viterbo University, where Eliotte was pursuing a master's in mental health counseling, became the hub of the search efforts. The university mobilized volunteers and hosted a community search on July 22nd. Supplies were handed out, flyers were distributed, and donations were accepted at the School of Nursing. One of their posts on the effort reads, quote, "Every share, every prayer, and every helping hand matters. We will continue to post updates as they become available." I want to thank Upside for sponsoring this episode of Sidebar. Upside is a free app that gets you cash back on daily essentials like gas and groceries. Every time I pump my gas, I use the Upside app. I go out to lunch at Chipotle, maybe Upside. Perhaps some gum or some Tic Tacs at 7-Eleven, I'm using Upside. Why not even get cash back when I do all of these things too? And yes, this is actual real cash back. It's money that appears in your Upside app app that you can transfer straight into your bank account. Once you have the free Upside app, claim an offer for whatever you're buying on Upside. You pay as usual using a debit or a credit card and follow the steps on the app and get paid. To find out how much you could earn, click the link in the description to download Upside or scan the QR code on your screen and use our promo code Sidebar and get an extra 25 cents back on every gallon on your first tank of gas. Again, that's promo code Sidebar for an extra 25 cents back on your first gallon of gas. During the large-scale search, the New York Post reported that friends found Elliott's cell phone, but it offered no breakthrough in locating the missing grad student. Also on July 22nd, the La Crosse Police Department issued a follow-up plea, this time urging local residents and downtown businesses to review their surveillance footage. In that message, the police department said, quote, "The La Crosse police continues to actively search and investigate the whereabouts of Eliotte Heinz. Thank you for the community support and assistance. We continue to ask all La Crosse downtown businesses and residents to please check your properties along with reviewing camera/video footage between the hours of 2 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Sunday, July 20th, 2025 for anyone matching the description of Eliotte." Now, at the same time, Elliott's family released a heartfelt message through Viterbo's University social media channels, saying, quote, "On behalf of our entire family, thank you. The outpouring of support in the search for Eliotte has been overwhelming, and we are deeply grateful for the kindness, prayers, and encouragement from the community and beyond. Many of you have asked, how can you help? At this time, the most important thing you can do is continue sharing Elliott's information on social media. For those in the La Crosse area, we ask that you review any home security camera footage from early Sunday morning between 2 to 6 a.m. Even the smallest details could make a difference. If you see anything that may help, please contact the La Crosse Police Department. But then, on July 23rd, the search for Eliotte came to a heartbreaking end. At approximately 10:28 a.m. on Wednesday, July 23rd, the Houston County Sheriff's Office notified La Crosse police that a body had been discovered in the Mississippi River near Brownsville, Minnesota, just across the state line. It was later confirmed to be Elliott's. The La Crosse Police Chief Sean Cadrone issued the following statement saying, quote, "This was not the outcome we had hoped for throughout this search. Our thoughts are with Elliott's family, friends, and those who knew Eliotte. We are so grateful for the outpouring of support from so many within the La Crosse community, the state of Wisconsin, and nationally to locate Eliotte." Now, police say the investigation remains ongoing and are awaiting autopsy results to determine the official cause of death. Elliott School also released a statement expressing grief, writing, quote, "Viterbo University joins the Heinz family, the La Crosse community, and all those who knew and loved Eliotte in mourning her tragic passing. We are heartbroken by this loss and extend our deepest sympathies to her family and friends. We are especially grateful to the La Crosse Police Department for their tireless efforts and to the many community members who showed up with compassion by searching, sharing information, offering prayers, and providing food, water, and comfort during the most difficult of days. Your outpouring of love reflects the very best for Viterbo, our La Crosse community, and beyond. There are no words that can ease the pain of losing someone so young with so much life ahead of her. Our heart goes out to Elliott's family. We hold them in our prayers and stand with them in their grief." Now, the Mississippi waterfront where Eliotte Heinz disappeared has long been a focus of safety concerns in La Crosse. Fox News reported that since 2006, the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse has operated River Watch, a student volunteer program aimed at preventing alcohol-related drownings along the dangerous riverbanks. The program, currently coordinated by the Sigma Tau Gamma fraternity with volunteers from UW-La Crosse, Viterbo University, and Western Technical College, typically patrols Thursday through Saturday nights during the academic year. Equipped with reflective vests and flashlights, teams of at least 2 volunteers monitor the river walk from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m., steering intoxicated pedestrians away from the water's edge. While the program partners with local police and businesses, university officials confirmed River Watch was not active on the summer weekend when Eliotte Heinz vanished. The fall patrol schedule wasn't set to begin until late August when students returned to campus. Now, the disappearance and death of Eliotte Heinz has drawn attention to the dangers young adults face near waterways, a concern tragically familiar to the family of Riley Strain, a University of Missouri student who drowned in Nashville's Cumberland River last year under different circumstances. While investigations into Elliott's death remain ongoing, Riley Strain's case, which involved alleged fraternity negligence, has sparked nationwide discussion about student safety. Riley Strain's family recently filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the Delta Chi fraternity, claiming brothers failed to protect him after he became intoxicated during a spring formal. The suit alleges the fraternity encouraged dangerous drinking habits and abandoned Riley Strain when he needed help. But unlike Riley Strain's alcohol-related drowning, Eliotte Heinz's case has no evidence as of now suggesting intoxication played a role. So here to break this down even further is missing persons private investigator Steve Fischer. So Steve, based on the timeline and the details that have been made available so far, how typical is the initial response and search effort in a case like Eliotte Heinz's?
Well, this was a great response, and I got to say, the La Crosse Police Department and the university did an amazing job. This is what I like to see more in so many of my cases. They welcome the community. I mean, the police department, police chief were very front facing. They kept everybody informed. They welcomed the volunteers. The university made the nursing college available as a base camp for university searchers, even supplies. And so this is, in so many departments we see this, we don't want the community's help. But here it was different. And, that's a real comfort to the family too, to know that there's that many eyeballs out there looking. And so I really commend, the family, the volunteers, the police department, and the university. I think they did a really fantastic job showing up for this young lady.
And I was really hoping that there would be a different outcome in this case, and it's just really tragic and horrible how it ended. And Steve, talk to me a little bit about some of the common challenges that investigators face in missing person cases, where maybe their last sighting was similar to Eliotte Heinz's sighting, or her last place she was seen alive, I should say, in terms of she was out late, it was downtown, it was dark, she's assuming she's trying to just get home. What are some of the main challenges that you see in cases like this?
Especially in cases like this where this is occurring right on the water, on a river. It's a lot like the Riley Strain case, where we saw it's as an investigator, when you get that call that a person's missing, it's late at night, they may have been out having drinks, and it's along a river. It's scary because you don't have to be inebriated for an accident to happen. I mean, right. I was looking at that riverfront street, that front street, and there's parts of the river that have a barrier wall that's no more than a foot high, and you're in the water. All it takes, the water is, if it's not, it's not well lit, so it's dark, and it can be really deceiving, depth perception wise, and it just takes one stumble and you're in. And once you're in the river, it's so hard to get out, because it's not like when you're training and okay, we're going to be in the water, and how to get out. It hits you by surprise, and it's that initial shock and terror and not know what to do, and you're clothed instead of just wearing a bathing suit, so you got stuff weighting you down, you got shoes. It's a tragic combination. And so as an investigator, if you can't find the person right away, and then you have footage of them along the river walk, it's very unfortunate.
Just horrible. And we're in the age of 2025. We're in a very digital kind of fronted age in terms of just surveillance footage from businesses, from residents, all of that good stuff. How important is it, and how helpful is it to investigators too, to help piece everything together in terms of last steps, last appearance, all those types of things, especially since it seems like a lot of people have either Ring cameras or other types of surveillance footage kind of at their disposal?
I mean, for me, at least, it is the very first step, especially when it's an endangered, missing. It's not just, well, first of all, that area, because I was checking out while this is going on, they have open webcams along the Riverwalk 24/7 that you can watch, and the businesses, of course, but beyond that, I mean, so many DoorDash drivers or bike delivery drivers now, for their own personal safety, are carrying body cams or some sort of dash cam. There are surveillance cameras so many places you don't even imagine. Even the barges that are going along the river are running surveillance cameras. So that's what I really focus on, is these surveillance sweeps right away, and I'm sure that they did that as well. I know that they released the one image. I think that they had more than that to work on. But that is it. I mean, literally, you can just dot plot them walking along those areas. And the family, again, did a fantastic job. I know that they came out early, begging for anybody that had, please check your ring cameras, check your business surveillance systems. Even if it was just a shadow walking by, it could be super important. So again, the family did an outstanding job along with the investigators and the community. And it's just an unfortunate, circumstance that, it's just tragedy.
Just the family's worst nightmare, truly. And in terms of just the community's response, it seems like a lot of people really just wanted to find Elliott. In terms of just, investigators prioritizing leads or tips from the public, how does that all work in terms of what tips that they may kind of follow through first versus, the others? How do they kind of pick and determine which leads to follow through first?
Yeah, so the first leads are going to be addressed are the people that are saying, listen, I think I have her on surveillance. I think, and you have a system where you can upload that now that actually goes usually through Axion, the body cam company, and where people can immediately upload. They'll provide them a link and they'll upload whatever footage they have, and it'll be viewed immediately, because that's the number one thing. And then it's going to go to eyewitness accounts. So, I was out, walking my dog at 3 a.m. and I'm pretty sure I saw her. Those are going to be more important than talking to those witnesses from inside the bar, like what her mindset might have been and stuff. Because although that's important, putting eyeballs on her is the most important. And then it goes down to, then you're going to get a lot of calls, and it happens in every case, of people with theories, or every case that involves water, smiley face killer, type of things, and then psychics and whatnot. So there is a priority, but actual surveillance and eyewitness accounts are going to be the priority, with surveillance by far being the one, unless somebody actually saw an event happen. I saw somebody stumble into the water, but then you would hope they would have called 911, if that happened.
And just off of what we know so far, because we're still kind of waiting for the results from the autopsy report and all of that stuff, but in terms of what we know now, do you think that there's possible foul play involved, or do you think that this was just a horrible and tragic accident?
I don't think there's any indication that there's foul play. I think that we would see a little different posture from law enforcement. Now, of course, they have said, listen, until the autopsy's back, we can't say anything, but I do think that there's more surveillance than they've shown available. And even if they doesn't capture the actual event of her going in the water, they'll be able to tell if anybody approached her at any point, if she was speaking with anybody who was following her. There is a rush to judgment sometimes in these cases. And again, we saw it especially like in Riley's strain and whatnot, where people were making accusations against people, and it just ended up not being the case. It was a tragic accident. And I think that's what's going to happen here. I was not one of the investigators in this case, so I can't say for certain, but it appears that this is an accident. Although, you're going to have a certain amount of the population that are convinced that it's foul play. A lot of times the family will be convinced it's foul play because they just can't imagine how an accident like this can happen. And I understand that. I get that. Like you're trying to make sense of this, but I think as the reports come in and the autopsy comes in, and investigators are able to speak and say, listen, let me show you more video evidence and whatnot, then it'll make more sense to the family. And that grieving process is a tough one. And so I understand they're going to be, upset, and they're most likely going to think that this couldn't have been an accident. But, in the end, I think that's what it'll be. But again, I was not an investigator on the case.
And I know that you had just brought up the Riley Strain case. Are you seeing kind of commonalities between these? Are you seeing major differences between these two cases? I mean, I can see kind of both aspects from different spectrums, that they do have kind of similar qualities, but also in the same time that they are completely different. But do you see any kind of similarities and comparisons between the two cases?
Yeah, I do. And, and those are a couple cases that got a lot of media attention, but there are so many more of these.
Right.
And I'm by no means saying this in a negative way, or saying it all was her fault. But, alcohol and being around water are just such dangerous combinations. As a missing persons investigator and somebody that's been involved in search and rescue for a long time, we just see it so often. It just takes one misstep to be in that water. Once you're in, it's so hard to get out, especially along a river like the Mississippi that is such a strong undercurrent. So yeah, there's similarities as far as it was late, although Riley wasn't that late. It was only about 10 p.m. Nighttime, had a few drinks. Dark, it's dark in those areas, not real well lit, and also in both cases, the barriers to entry into that river were not significant. I mean, there are some areas that, like around around the hotels and stuff that she was there, that do have barriers, but there's some that are public areas that are wide open. You could just step right into the river. So, and that was the case in Riley's too. He was under a bridge. So there are similarities in that case. And then unfortunately, once you go in, it's just, unless somebody witnessed it and can immediately help or call for help, the odds are really stacked against you.
And one clue that kind of stands out to me, I feel like with this case, possibly leaning to, and I say possibly with a very kind of big emphasis, possibly, leaning towards it being a little bit of foul play, is the cell phone. I was interested in knowing that her friends had her cell phone or found her cell phone, that type of thing. And I was thinking, okay, well, maybe she was out searching for her phone late at night. Maybe alcohol wasn't involved and maybe she was just searching for it and then something terrible happened. Do you think the phone kind of, and her friends later finding her phone, do you think that stands out to you in any terms of the investigation?
It definitely could. And, again, it's a tough subject because
Right.
it can also be a matter of what was that person's mental mindset at the time. Was there anything going on in their life that they were distressed over? And we've seen that in multiple cases. In fact, leaving bars and whatnot, sometimes emotions run high, and so it does appear that the phone was placed, somewhere. However, I in a foul play circumstance, I think if the motive was to harm the person, I don't think the phone would have been of concern to that person. However, if a person's in a bad mental mindset and they kind of want people to know what may have happened, that could be an indicator. It could have been. There was a period of time when she was last seen at 3:30, but she left the bar at 2:30. So for that hour, what was going on? Was she on the phone with somebody? Did she have a phone call that upset her and just placed the phone down and walked off? It's really hard to say. I think we'll learn more about that. It is something that has concerned me, but not so much from the foul play, but possibly from the other end. Was she distraught?
Yeah. And I guess we'll see, pending the results of the autopsy report, see what comes out of that, plus possibly any other information that police may relay to the public too. Steve Fischer, I want to thank you so much for your time and your insight into this case. Before we sign you off, though, is there anything else you would like to add or any kind of messages for awareness for cases like these that feel like they're kind of a little common, more than we would think?
Yeah, it just, alcohol, being around water, alcohol, it's such a dangerous combination. But I really want to stress that as an investigator in these cases, like the response and the outreach from the police department and from the university and from the family, I mean, that is the type of community togetherness that we need and transparency that really helps these cases so much. That keeping everything totally secret and keeping everybody in the dark, including the family, just doesn't help in these missing person cases. So I really applaud the university and the police department and the volunteers and her friends. And I'm just so sorry to the family and her friends for I just can't imagine,
Yeah, it's just horrible overall. And we're thinking about everyone who's been affected by her death too. Again, Steve Fischer, thank you so much for your insight into this case. I really appreciate your time today.
Thanks for having me.
Now, as investigators continue working to piece together what happened in those early morning hours, the official cause of death remains pending autopsy results. Meanwhile, Viterbo University plans to hold a memorial service in Eliotte's honor this fall in coordination with her family once students return to campus. That does it for this episode of Sidebar. Be sure to subscribe to us anywhere you get your podcasts, whether it's YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. I'm Elizabeth Millner, filling in for Jesse Weber, and this has been Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime.